Wow, just a huge bombshell trade in the NBA just went off right now. Huge bombshell trade in the NBA. Obviously, Kyrie Irving being traded from the Brooklyn Nets to the Dallas Mavericks for Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney Smith. Looks like it's going to be a 2027 or 2029 first round pick and second round picks in 2027 and 2029. So a huge blockbuster trade. Couple of ways I think this could go here. A big kind of a thought and what people are talking about is this going to work with Luka Doncic? Obviously, if you're the Dallas Mavericks and you're Luka Doncic, you needed to make a move and you needed to make some kind of splash because you weren't going to go anywhere with just Luka and the rest of your team and just a bunch of guys. Because right now, Luka's been carrying this team for the entire season, and that has been obviously evident throughout the entire year. And when he has a big game, they usually win. When he struggles, they don't usually win as either. So huge trade there for the Brooklyn Nets, trading Kyrie Irving, getting Kyrie Irving out of their building. Obviously, they've had issue after issue after issue with Kyrie Irving, so it's been just a headache after headache. It was time to get him out of the building. Obviously, they weren't going to extend him and Kyrie Irving. I don't know why he thought he was going to get the extension, but that's what dropped on Friday. They didn't give him the extension. They weren't going to offer him an extension, and I mean, they would be crazy too because of what he's put them through over these last couple of years. So I have no problem with what the Brooklyn Nets just did. The another big question is what does this mean for Kevin Durant? Is Kevin Durant going to stick around and play with Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney Smith there? And then obviously they still have Ben Simmons. You saw Seth Curry. You still have other pieces, Joe Harris, things like that. You still have other pieces. This is not a championship team. I didn't believe it was a championship team with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant healthy, and then obviously with Kyrie Irving gone and Kevin Durant coming back from injury in the next couple of weeks. But still don't believe this is a championship team. I don't see them contending with the likes of the Boston Celtics, the Milwaukee Bucks, teams like that. Not even the Philadelphia 76ers, if I'm going to be honest, and maybe not even the Cleveland Cavaliers as well. So, what does this mean for Kevin Durant? Does he request a trade before the Thursday trade deadline? What's the next move for the Brooklyn Nets? What's the next move for the Dallas Mavericks? Are they done? I do like their team so far. Obviously, you have Luka Doncic. I think him and Kyrie Irving could work on the court. Now, the biggest question mark with Kyrie Irving isn't on the court. When he's on the court, he's one of the best point guards in the league, and he's one of the best finishers in the game, and he has the best handles, one of the best handles in the game as well. There's no denying his excellence on the court. It's obviously what's off the court, and it's been documented whether it was the vaccine stuff last year, the Alex Jones stuff from earlier this year, the multiple trade requests over years, and just kind of his indifference to wanting to be an NBA player and wanting to contribute to a championship level team. So that is obviously the biggest question. That'll always be the biggest question for Kyrie Irving is how much is he going to be invested in for the team in the game and wanting to be a top level player. So that's always been a big question there, and I think that that question's got to remain. But pairing him with Luka Doncic, I think that makes their team very, very good offensively. Now, defensively, Luka Doncic is not a great defensive player, and neither is Kyrie Irving. But you have pretty good defensive players in Christian Wood, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Jason Kidd is your coach, who was a good defensive player in his own right. So he has a good defensive philosophy. Can he get Kyrie Irving and obviously Luka Doncic to continue to play defense? That is a big question mark there. But if you look at the Western Conference right now, the Western Conference is absolutely wide open. I mean, there's no team out there that looks like an absolute juggernaut or anything like that. It is definitely out there to be had. And now that you add Kyrie Irving to Luka Doncic, who is one of the 3 to 4 best players in the league, you give yourself an opportunity to make a run in the Western Conference. Like I said, it all's going to come down to what kind of Kyrie Irving you're getting, how invested is going to be. I think it's going to be you might be able to get your best version of Kyrie Irving right now, at least for the remainder of the season, because obviously you knew that he did not want to be in Brooklyn any longer. Even before the trade request, he had kind of kept his head down and been playing really well, was playing at definitely an all-star level and was actually named an all-star starter in the Eastern Conference. Don't know how that works now because obviously he's in the Western Conference, but we'll see how that breaks down. He's still an all-star player. But for the last 3 months, he has been one of the best players in the league. Not MVP candidate, but definitely a high-level player in the league. Does he continue that? Because if he continues that level of play with what Luka's an MVP candidate with what Luka's been doing this whole season, that could really be a lot of firepower for this Dallas Mavericks team. So definitely something to look forward to there and see if he can can keep that level of play and can be all in and be invested for this team to make a run in the Western Conference. Because currently, right now, the Mavericks are the 6th seed, and they're only a half game behind Phoenix as the 5 seed, and they're only 9.5 games back in the conference. But Denver currently has a 4.5 game lead over everybody in the Western Conference. So Denver is kind of the team to beat right now. Obviously, Jokic is playing at an MVP level. Jamal Murray's back and playing really well. Aaron Gordon's played really well. Things like that. So they're definitely a good team to beat in the Western Conference. But outside of that, Memphis has been on a skid for a while. Sacramento is a good team, but a team without any playoff experience and high level playing experience that way as well. The Clippers, you just never know who's going to play for them night in and night out. Is Paul George going to be available? Is Kawhi Leonard going to be available? So they're just a huge question mark there. And then obviously Phoenix, they've had a lot of injury issues, whether it's Devin Booker and other guys as well. And then obviously Chris Paul is getting up there in age. Can he play deep into a playoff series? And they were actually able to beat the Phoenix Suns last year in a 7 game series and just embarrassed them on their home court last year to the Dallas Mavericks. And that was without Kyrie Irving. Your team got better. I love the pickup going in from the offseason with Christian Wood. And then obviously this pickup today. Like I said, I think Kyrie Irving will be invested for these next 4 months. After that, there'll be some contract negotiations. I don't know if Mark Cuban's willing to give Kyrie Irving a lengthy contract. I probably wouldn't go past 2 years. I would say about 2 years, $80 million, and you call it a day. If he doesn't want that, then you say, okay, well, enjoy yourself. You're not getting that anywhere else in the league. So that's probably the negotiation I would do. But right now, I think, like I said, I think Kyrie Irving will be invested. I think this Dallas Mavericks team with Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, obviously, I think they can make a run in the West because, like I said, the West is there to be had. There was news this morning that Steph Curry could be out another couple of weeks to a month with another injury. So the Golden State Warriors probably are going to be a playing team if they to get into the playoffs. Now, obviously, if they get in, they're always a dangerous team. They're the defending champions, have a ton of championship pedigree, so they're always going to be a dangerous team. But I don't know if this is going to be their year. Even when they've played all together, they haven't looked like a good team. One of the worst road teams in the league this year, which is something that they had always been good at. They'd always been a good road team because of the veteran leadership there. So I don't really think that they're much of a threat, but we'll see what happens. Like I said, because that veteran team and the players they have, they're always someone to kind of take seriously. But we'll see how Steph Curry comes back from the injury. But just kind of sum everything up. Huge blockbuster trade that was unbelievable here. I knew that I didn't know, but I had a feeling that this would be the time that the Nets would finally give in and give Kyrie Irving that trade that he requested. Because at this point, you really can't just keep prolonging this marriage that you have between the Nets and Kyrie Irving. And they were going to put him on ice until the trade was going to happen. And if you didn't trade him, he probably wasn't going to want to come back and play for the team. You're not going to sign him in the offseason. He was going to be a free agent. Just go ahead and get what you can. Spencer Dinwiddie, you already know him. He was already in net before he was actually traded from the Nets to the Dallas Mavericks a couple of years back. So you know him. He's a solid player. Dorian Finney Smith is a big guy that you could put down low, maybe give you a little more physicality on the defensive side for the Brooklyn Nets. But this is just a move to get Kyrie Irving out of the building because you tried time and time and time again to make it work with Kyrie Irving, and it just didn't work. So it was a time to just rip off the Band-Aid, get him out of the building, and start fresh. That may even mean that you have to get Kevin Durant out of the building and kind of start fresh from there. This experience with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant in Brooklyn obviously did not work and never really had much steam. There was one year, I think, in the 2021 playoffs when they made a run to the second round and had the Milwaukee Bucks on the brink. If Kevin Durant's foot wasn't on the line, maybe we're talking different about this Brooklyn Nets team. But other than that, that was their best shot, and that was only the semifinals in the East, not even the conference finals, the conference semifinals in the East. So that was the deepest they got. Obviously, they got embarrassed last year by the Celtics, and I really don't think they were going to make much of a run, probably out of the 5 or 6 seed in the East with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. So this is the move that they had to make. So good move on the Dallas Mavericks side. You get an all-star player. You get a high-level player when he's invested and when he's ready to go, and I think he will be in Dallas. You pair him with Luka Doncic. Kyrie and Luka could do some damage in the West. And then not a bad move on the Brooklyn Nets side. You get a decent player in Spencer Dinwiddie, a decent low-post player, or at least a good defensive big man in Dorian Finney-Smith. You get some draft capital for later on. I know it's not till 2027 and 2029. You get a little bit draft capital, and now you can move on without Kyrie Irving. Jacque Vaughn has done a really good job in replacing Steve Nash. So you can move on, see what happens. If Kevin Durant wants out, you may have to accommodate him that way. That would probably get you a ton of draft capital or a really good player return. But either way, you got Kyrie Irving out of the building. It's good to just move on. Good move for both sides, for both the Dallas Mavericks and the Brooklyn Nets. This should be a fun end to the season for the last couple of months in the NBA before we get to the NBA playoffs. Thank you for watching.